Round 10 for Season 4 of the Cross GT Racing My Team Career Mode journey brought us to Belgium, off to Spa, one of the most famous and most popular tracks on the F1 calendar, where we were once again in a very heated battle with one Max Verstappen, who is currently leading the Drivers' Championship, a relatively healthy margin at this point. But we are definitely still in the fight. We've got 6 more races in the season, so it's not done and dusted yet, but we are going to have to put in some pretty big performances for this last part of the season. A good strategy going out on the hards definitely gave us the edge we needed to go across the line just ahead of Max. Not much in it, but we do get those much needed points to try and claw back a little bit of that gap in hopes of trying to get a Drivers' Championship before the end of the season. As we head off now to Monza, round 11, definitely one of the more fun tracks to drive, not overly technical, it's just all out speed. Really fun track to drive. I do I think I put the difficulty up a little bit for this one. I'm running a different setup, more of a low drag setup for this track, obviously. A 1:19.5 for our first lap, pretty good first lap, puts us on pole. Gasly, as usual, still hanging in there. He's been up the top for most of the season. I think he's sitting P3 in the championship at the moment. He's a bit further back, probably a bit harder for him to probably win the championship this season, but mathematically he's still in with a chance. He's still a factor in the championship race, as we are now on our third lap. So the second lap the time wasn't really there, but we stay out to try and put in another really good lap. We're already 6 tenths up through sector 1, sector 2 purple as well. Definitely track evolution playing a role in this qualifying. I do believe Max is the Red Bull that is crossing the line now. As we head up to the line, purple through all 3 sectors, we improved by over a second, a 1:18.2, which is good enough for pole position. Max eventually finishing P2 in qualifying, a full second behind, only a tenth between the 2 Red Bulls, who are currently leading the constructors. Michael Schumacher back in 6th. Hopefully he will be a big factor to hopefully get our team some points in the next race.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today here at the oldest circuit on the calendar. Monza hosted its first race all the way back in 1922, with top speeds up to 215 miles per hour and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour. Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. The captain lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Bottas, Michael Schumacher and Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo and Antonio Giovinazzi, Sainz, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll and Gasly. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon, Russell, Nicholas Latifi and Christian Lundgaard, Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, Joe and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So there is the starting lineup for today's race. Pierre Gasly taking an engine penalty, which helps our teammate Michael Schumacher by bumping him up into P5, which hopefully will help our chances out at winning this race, and also our team getting some more points in the Constructors' Championship. One stop for us today, softs to hards. I think most of the pack will probably be doing the same thing. 5 red lights, and we're off and away alongside our our Drivers' Championship rival Max Verstappen, who was just gone, as he usually is. Much better starts for him than I have been getting in this season. Bottas has managed to jump up into P2 momentarily. We managed to get the inside line heading out of the chicane and get back up into P2. Perez, the big loser there, starting off in P3, and now he's been relegated to P5. Bottas and our teammate Michael Schumacher both managed to overtake him coming out of that turn 1 chicane. So now cross-seat racing is P2 and P4 in this race. Max more than a second up the road, and we are having to rinse our battery very early on in this race. I mean, we can't get much earlier than that. Lap 1 we're having to use the battery to try and keep up our current line. Not very clean through the S's there. Definitely these cold tyres are showing sort of how, I guess, our limited ability to maintain the line on cold tyres, but they should be pretty warm by the time we get round to the S's again this time on lap 2. 1.4 seconds the gap to Verstappen. We are a second, or around about a second ahead of Bottas. We've gone purple through sector 1, closing that gap ever so slightly to Verstappen. A much better line through the S's there. Very good line. We managed to gain about 3/10 on Verstappen there. Sector 2, purple through there, so we are definitely closing that gap. We go a bit wide around the final corner, which does give Verstappen a little bit more breathing room. But you can already see the gulf between myself and Verstappen and then the rest of the pack as we get the fastest lap that lap as well. Perez making moves on Schumacher a little bit further back from the battle for P1. I say battle, it's not much of a battle at the moment. Verstappen is clear of us by a decent margin, but Schumacher and Perez side by side out of the chicane, and Schumacher manages to hold on to P4, and that battling has definitely given Bottas some breathing room as we just saw him exiting the side of the frame there. He's gained a decent gap to our teammate now, but at least Schumacher has managed to hold on to P4. Some good points on the way for the team if he can maintain that spot. Perez looking up the inside, but he doesn't get there. Not Gasly, that's I believe that's Sonoda making moves on Perez. So Perez now dropping down the order. He's now lost 3 places since the start of this race. We're only coming around the final corner on lap 3 here. Sonoda got the inside line now on Schumacher. But Schumacher has got a good run out of the final corner. Nope, Sonoda in front. Perez in the slipstream. Oh, and he weaves in between the two. And now it looks like, I think that's Leclerc in the Ferrari now alongside Schumacher. We're going too wide in 2 rows there through the first chicane. And it's all on here. The battle for P4. And there's Bottas. He's gained even more of an advantage. The battle for P4. It's still raging. Perez has gained a position. Sonoda's moved up. And now Schumacher has got his eyes on Perez. Oh no, this is us. Not me. I've got a good run on Verstappen. That battle with Schumacher back there got me all mixed up. We managed to get past Verstappen heading into the chicane. A little bit of a lock-up. But we have enough room to keep the move, or make the move stick. We're up into P1 now, finally. Lap 5. Verstappen has been in control of this race the entire time. We go wide. And then we almost clean out Verstappen there. We were so close to colliding with him. That could have been massive. That could have been both cars out of this race. But somehow Verstappen had the wherewithal to have enough space. We managed to take the inside line into the start of the S's, and we managed to make the move stick. We're back in P1. Scary moment back there. So we take another look. We go into the middle. Don't want to lose control of the car, so we run a little bit wide back onto the track, and we almost touch. That was as close as you could get. Almost took it. Both cars almost taken out. Both championship leaders almost out. Verstappen tries to make a move around the outside. He ends up yielding and letting us go through. We had the inside line and enough of the car alongside to lay claim to that position. But a big battle for P1 going on now. Lap 6, we've managed to open up a little bit of a gap to him. We're 7/10 ahead, so it's about the same size gap that he had to us. But he is closing that gap very quickly. Or at least he was at the start of the lap. Now we've managed to open the gap up to about 1.5 seconds here, using as much of our battery as we can this race. Quick change of strategy as we'll be going on to mediums for the rest of the race now. Verstappen is in this lap. He's on to mediums as well. And it looks like some of the other cars are starting to come in now. Looks like the team's also come out to get Schumacher onto mediums as well. So it looks like everyone's making their stops now. We're staying out for one more lap. Hopefully we can use this time to gain an even bigger advantage. Verstappen heading into the turn 1 chicane, and he's overtaken by one of the Aston Martins. I'm not sure which driver that is, but this could be big for us if Verstappen is stuck behind that Aston Martin long enough. It could give us a big advantage coming out of the pits here as we are heading in for our stop, heading on to a fresh set of medium tyres. Verstappen is still behind that Aston Martin. I think he will be, by the looks of things on the minimap, he has made the pass now on the Aston. Very quick stop from us, 2.1 seconds. Verstappen up to the line, but unfortunately we are already out of the pit lane. We are way up at the turn 1 chicane already. So that lap, that exit behind the Aston Martin has hurt Verstappen a lot there. There was a huge gap between the Aston Martin and the car ahead of it, but Verstappen couldn't capitalise, and he is now having to fight an uphill battle to catch up to us again. Schumacher, on the other hand, in a heated battle with the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, gets the DRS on the home straight into the turn 1 chicane. He's got the outside line. He manages to hold it really well, get on the power, and he's managed to move up into, I do believe he is in P6 now, I think. Yep, P6. Sonoda, Perez, Bottas, Verstappen, and then us up at the front. Sector 1 for us this lap. Lap 13, so a few laps have gone by now in this race, and I say a few laps, we are halfway through this race now, or almost halfway through this race, and we've got a 4.5 second gap to Verstappen, which is slowly building here, which was bound to happen. We go purple through sector 3, a 17th improvement on the 17th improvement, 17th deficit to our fastest lap, 14th deficit to our fastest lap. That time around, purple through sector 3 again. We are now almost 8 seconds clear of Verstappen. The medium tyre has always been my best friend in this game. The softs, as fast as they are, I'm not overly good at maintaining that pace with them. Verstappen, he's really battling to try and catch up to us. And Verstappen has had a massive engine failure. This is huge. This is massive. Our championship leader in the second half of the season, he's had an engine failure. He's now out of this race. This is huge for us.
Some information on Verstappen, they are out of the race.
Jeff just confirming there, Max Verstappen, Drivers' Championship leader, is now out of this race. We now have gone from having an 8-second advantage to 15.5 seconds advantage. Our biggest rival now in this race is Bottas or Perez. Bottas is currently in P2, but Perez is in a Red Bull, and Red Bull are the top of the constructor standings at the moment. We've got a 15-second gap, and we've only got coming up 8 laps left in this race. This is huge for us. All we have to do is bring it home now, and we could close the gap in the championship down to almost nothing. Verstappen still got a decent lead in the championship, but this could really give us, like, this is exactly what we needed. We needed at some point for Verstappen to have an absolute mare of a race, to just to throw it away, have an absolute meltdown, and it's come in the form of an engine failure. And one of the cars that I don't think either Red Bull has actually had a DNF, like an engine failure, all season. We've had two in 2 races. We had one in France, and then we had one the very next race in Austria. 2 races that are actually really good for us. We had engine failures. We could have won both of those races, and the championship would have looked completely different right now. But it's finally swung back our way, and we are now in a comfortable position here, as Michael Schumacher still battling with these Ferraris. He's now got the inside line into the turn 1 chicane on Leclerc, but much the same as what happened the first time when they battled, the car on the outside heading out of the chicane has the better line and stays in front. But Schumacher, either side by side heading into the next chicane. Schumacher's got the inside line, but Leclerc manages to hold on, and he keeps that position. And in the very next lap, Sainz decides he wants to have a go, and he heads up the inside of turn 1. He's got the exit of the chicane, and he does exactly what Schumacher did to Leclerc earlier in the race, and he just breezes past. Schumacher is now relegated back down to, I believe that would now be P7. With Verstappen out of the race, everyone moves up a position. P7, still in the points, still good for us, and our Constructors' Championship hopes, which are probably a bit far afield for us than the Drivers' Championship, but we can still work towards it. There's always a chance we could get it. Perez has moved ahead of Bottas now. Bottas and Perez still in a tight battle. Norris is still hanging in there with them too, back in P4, and then there's a huge gap, a massive gap. Leclerc just coming around out of the S's now, as these guys are heading around the final corner. They're going to have to do a hell of a lot of work in those Ferraris to try and catch up and salvage something good from their home race. But these guys up here, Perez, Bottas and Lando, all in with a chance of getting on the podium. So we take a look now. Schumacher now having another fight with the Ferraris. Leclerc's clear. He's got a big gap, but Sainz in danger of being overtaken, and he does get overtaken quite easily. Schumacher gets to the chicane well ahead of Sainz. Nice clean overtake, and that moves him up into P6. Some good points coming his way this race if he can hold on. It's lap 25, and it's been a pretty elementary race for us today. We were trailing behind Verstappen for a few laps at the start of this race. We managed to pass him on the home straight in beginning of lap 5, and we've held on to P1 ever since. Bad timing for the pit stop for Verstappen meant he was trailing behind an Aston Martin, which opened up a much bigger gap for our lead. When we came out of the pits, we were well ahead, and Verstappen pushing as hard as he can to try and keep up, just couldn't catch up, and then the engine failure topping off what is a disappointing day for him. Final lap, we do lose the back end of the car a little bit heading into the turn 1 chicane, but we managed to keep it together. We have sort of we did ease off the pace a little bit in the last couple of laps. Perez is now only 10 seconds behind us, so that 15.5 second deficit we had to Bottas, I think in lap 19, I think it was, when Verstappen retired, is now down to 10 seconds. We got a little bit wide heading through that corner there, but nothing too major. We're just going through the motions now, trying to bring it home. Another excellent performance here at Monza. I think we've won the last, we've either won just the last race or the last 2 races here in Monza. Perez, Bottas, and Lando still battling for P2. Perez holding on quite well. These guys have been hanging together for most of the second half of this race. But it doesn't matter because we are coming around to cross the line. And another win. 3 wins in a row for us. And the hopes of our Drivers' Championship win this season looking so much healthier now. Huge gains on Max Verstappen after this race. And even some points for Schumacher in there too. A great job and a great day for the team.
Can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
So there it is, a relatively familiar sight in recent times here on the podium. A 3rd win in a row for us in this championship in the season. Perez taking P2, Bottas P3, Schumacher finishes P6, down 1 position from where he started this race, but still 8 points gained for him this race. We take full points here today, P1 and fastest lap. But the most important thing here is we have closed the gap to Verstappen by a huge margin after his DNF today. As we take a look at the standings, there's only 6 points difference between the top 2 drivers. Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas are tied on 108 points, 68 points back. Technically, they are a chance of winning this championship, but unless we have DNFs and Max Verstappen has DNFs for the rest of the season, probably not going to happen. This is essentially becoming a 2-horse race now. And the constructor standings there as well. Perez managing to salvage a healthy number of points there to stay on top of the Constructors' Championship table. But we're only 35 points behind in the Constructors now too. So things are looking up for us in both championships. The drivers obviously much healthier than the Constructors. But you never know. We could have some really good performances in the next few races. Both myself and Schumacher bringing home a lot of points for the team, and Verstappen and Perez, their luck could be running out. They've had a pretty good run so far this season. I don't think, from what I can remember, either of them has had any reliability issues, but they could be setting in now. I think we took some engine penalties earlier in the season, I think, in some harder races, so that we wouldn't have to take them at the back end. So this could be the time where we can capitalize on that and definitely gain some points on them. So should be a pretty interesting rest of the season. We've got 5 races left in the season. I am trying to push through them, get them recorded and get them uploaded. I am thinking about the possibility of getting the F1 23 game when it comes out, and maybe carry on doing this. I do enjoy the game, it's a lot of fun, and definitely building up a team and building up a car in the hopes of winning a championship is quite enjoyable. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We're just going to focus on the rest of this season and try and get ourselves a couple of championships if possible. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Round 12 Russian Grand Prix should be good.